Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Loan Officer Marketing Podcast. I'm your host, Chris Johnstone, and today we are blessed to be here with Jeff Schneller. Jeff, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Chris.
Awesome. So let's get right into it because we got lots to talk about. First off, just introduce yourself. How long you been in the mortgage industry for?
So Jeff Schneller, and I'm part owner of Corby Mortgage, and I've been in the industry for 24 years, all with
And
Corby Mortgage.
oh, no way, really?
Yep, I'm a dinosaur.
Hardly. I would a pioneer. How's that?
Yeah, there you go.
Okay, cool. And you guys definitely within the top 200 companies in the country. Tell me a little bit, where do you get your business from?
So at this point in my career, I would say about 50% of my business is from past clients and referrals. About 35% is from my real estate partners, and 15% is from networking groups like BNI and some other things, which has been a big boost in business as of late.
That's amazing. So you're basically 100% referral based, past customers,
100%.
realtors, and that's absolutely phenomenal. Okay. The half of your business coming from your database, that's a phenomenal number. I know a lot of people in the industry would be envious of that fact. So what are you doing to keep in touch with all those past customers? How do you generate that much business from your past customer database?
Well, I think personally it starts on day one, and it's as a loan officer, you have to take each file and treat it like its own job, and you have to succeed. And succeeding is not just closing the file and getting paid, but succeeding is making sure that the client's needs are met every step of the way. And we know as loan officers that sometimes clients get irritated and annoyed, and they don't understand why they have to provide a tax return, or they don't understand why they have to provide page 7 of the bank statement that says intentionally not blank. And they get pissed, and they get pissed at your processor, and they get upset. And so sometimes when that happens, we have to check in with our client and say, hey, how's everything going? We already know it's not going well. They're upset, and you just have to let them vent. And so it's really controlling that throughout. So when they get to that closing, that they're happy, okay, and saying thank you for the business and I appreciate it. So I think that's the crucial step, is for them understanding your value, and not just the value that you close their loan, but really developing that relationship. And if you just let your processing staff do it, you've already missed your mark at developing a lifelong relationship. You really have. You can let your processor collect W-2s, paycheck stubs, W-2s, schedule closing, do all the stuff that needs to be done. But you as a loan officer have to check in with your client, and you have to listen and not just dictate to them what's going on. Then after the sale closes, you do have to remain top of mind. And there are a number of platforms to do that. Whether it's email, whether it's phone calls, whether it's birthday cards, whatever you choose, there you have to have some form of communication with them, and it doesn't have to be weekly. My God, you don't have to beat their heads off, but you do have to somehow remain top of mind throughout the process. I use a marketing system to do that, and I also communicate via videos that I make every Friday. They're mostly geared toward agents, but some of my past clients do tune in.
That is amazing. I love that. We have a tool, it's called Loan Officer CRM, loanofficercrm.ai for our listeners. We just created a brand new video marketing tool where you can go right into the CRM, click a button, record yourself on the screen, record your desktop, and then send that out to a blast. So we're working with people on the platform to be like, hey, send a weekly to your qualified real estate agents, send a monthly to your database.
100% smartest. That's everything.
Yeah.
And
How do you
monthly
come up?
probably for past clients is right, because everybody is out there making videos. Everybody's out there. You look at your email for virtual assistants. All loan officers, we get like 5 a day, or like we want to buy a list, or whatever the crap is. Your content is crucial. Making sure that there is a value add in your content, and that I think is most important, especially with your real estate agents, because they don't want to. They're tired of listening to, I return my phone calls. Well, you're expected to, but what value are you going to add to them to say, hey, this is important to me. Oh, condos, I have an issue with that. Grants, oh, I could use that. Or hey, here's a seller contribution list because I know that you're going to be focusing on how are you going to get paid if the sellers aren't going to pay you. Well, you know what? Hey, realtor, let's talk. And here's a list of how seller contributions work. And VA is not going to pay you, or whatever the situation is going to be.
Yeah, 100%. And I absolutely love that. So you're keeping in touch with your database through email, through a CRM once a month. Anything on top of that you're doing?
No, I probably should be doing more, but
No.
no, not really. And I do think it's the impression that you leave. And I probably, truth be told, there's probably there's more people in my database that I'm missing, and I could be doing better at. I mean, we could always do better. But no, I don't do like customer appreciation stuff, because once you get to a certain point where you're like, well, now what do I do? I have, you know, 5,000 past clients. Like, do I send them all a card? I'm like, I don't know if $2,500 worth of, Christmas cards I just don't feel like spending it, to be honest.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and the number one thing that we see move the needle is phone calls, and we use a concierge to do it. So it's like everybody knows you're busy, and Jeff, you're the surgeon. You know what I mean? It's the surgeon's assistant calls you, and that's totally normal in every other industry and should be in ours. So what we do is we have executive assistants that make those phone calls to the database and that sort of thing. But I mean, look at the volume of business that you're doing. 50% of it coming from the database. Obviously, you're doing a good job of it. So that's amazing. Only thing I would add is phone calls. But you touched on a couple of really interesting points there. We'll pivot from the database to realtor referrals, because you're getting a ton of business from realtor referrals.
Yeah.
You mentioned people getting spammed all the time to buy a list of qualified real estate agents. I apologize, but I have to get on my platform here. Inside the Loan Officer CRM, we just announced, only to our members, so this will be the first public announcement of it. We now have all of the real estate agent production data right inside the CRM. And for a limited time, we're giving it away for free for people that subscribe to the CRM. So you can go in and get a list of qualified agents, click the button, it automatically puts them into the marketing campaign to start marketing to them. And then we get the video marketing tool that goes along with it. But anyways, I digress. So when you're having your conversations with real estate agents, looking at where we are in the market right now, what do you think is the most valuable thing to have a conversation with agents about? How are you maintaining those relationships and getting as many referrals as possible from your real estate connection?
Yeah. I think what I've been doing for the last month is just calling and asking them about, what their feelings are about what's going on, and just say, hey, listen, there's a couple things that are going to happen here, and there's a couple different pillars. There's the business owners, the real estate owners that are all saying it's going to be business as normal, nothing's going to change, and let's just wait and see what happens. And that is one opinion. And if those loan officers that remember when they took away our yield spread premium, we all thought brokers were going to be out of business. We're done. Well, we weren't done. We actually, I think for most of us, we actually set our premiums a little higher, and we weren't giving away loans. That was, at least that's what happened to me. I found like I was giving away, 1 point on the back end for all my friends and family. And so like them normalizing that actually was a great thing. So there's a camp that nothing's going to change, and that's fine. And then you have listing agents saying, I'm just going to continue to be a listing agent. You have buyers agents saying, well, I'm just going to continue to work with buyers. But ultimately, the biggest thing that when I'm talking with them is saying, listen, you have to add and do your value proposition. You have to know what you're worth as a buyer's agent and as a listing agent. And you have to develop a strong team, and you need a strong real estate attorney. You need a strong mortgage person. You need a mold inspector. You need a home inspector. You need all these people to go in. And when you're selling on the buy side or on the listing side, you have to talk to them about it and say, listen, we are a team. Because when you refer somebody to me and they start straying away, whoa, my Aunt Cindy's a buyer's agent too. You refer them to me, and I'm like, yeah, but you remember my realtor is really good too. So like we all have to work together. And I think what we're going to find is that we have to give them some extra tools when those conversations come up, like, hey, there's a great house for sale and they're not offering a commission, but you know what? Talk to Jeff, because he's got some really creative ways for you to pay pay my compensation. And you have to talk about it and don't ignore it. It is
Yep.
there to be discussed. You are valuable. You're providing a great resource. And so you have to talk about it. And when you come to me, I can talk about, hey, listen, we can offer this and we could get a seller contribution of up to X amount of dollars to cover this commission. There's nice, easy ways to have these conversations, and it's not going to be with an online bank. And so I think I've provided like a sheet to all my agents that list VA. Well, of course you can't pay the realtor commission, but anyway, FHA, conventional, the LTVs with the limits on the sheet. And so I've just given it to my agents and say, let's talk, because there's going to be things that we all have to be prepared to discuss together, especially if you've agreed to get a 2% seller contribution to cover your buyer fee. Well, when you go into the house and you notice that there's a lot of stuff, well, the first thing out of your mouth should not be, well, we'll just ask for a credit to fix it. No, because you've already kind of used that, right? So we
Right.
have to help educate our agents and make them professional and say, you know what, we're going to make them fix it. This is going to become a their problem. And so we have to teach our agents how not to stick their foot in their mouth when we're talking about financing. And in 2024, the real estate agent and the mortgage professional have never needed each other more, ever. So I think it's a great opportunity for you to discuss these things and handle them head on, and don't just accept the fact, well, they my clients pre-approve a Chase, so whatever. If you're not a professional and they're in a Chase that they're, or I'm not ripping on Chase, but if they're not a professional mortgage person that they're approved with, their chances of getting the deal might fall apart.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And are you doing that on a one-to-one basis and having those conversations and educating your realtors, or
Yeah.
is that your content that you're sending out every week? How do you get that message out to the marketplace?
I've done it. I've done it in a number of different ways. I had a weekly video on it. And then one time I posted it on LinkedIn, which I shared then on my weekly video, which wasn't a video, it was just the sheet. Then I went on some of the Facebook groups that I'm in and posted it. And then I'm having these conversations with my agents while they're sending me pre-approvals, because half the time they're like, no, I didn't see your video. And I'm like, you're my number one agent. How did you not see it? You know what I mean? They're like, well, it's you. Like, we don't care. I'm like, I know if they're already your top 10. So with
Right.
those agents, as I'm talking to them, as they're sending me a pre-approval or as we're working on a deal, I'm saying, hey, did you see my sheet? And they're like, no, I didn't. I'm like, well, that's crazy, because I sent it out 900 times. And then so I email it to them, and then I'm just like, and then like this evening at 7:30, I'm going to meet with a group of 7 agents, and we're going to discuss NAR and like some of these possible changes and why you might need to partner with a professional mortgage person. So it creates such a great opportunity to come in and just have these conversations with a group. And we all try to, as loan officers, say, hey, can I come in and buy your office lunch and talk about my great condo program? Well, your great condo program is the same condo program everyone has, right? Like we don't have a lot of niche stuff when the wholesalers are, it's Rocket and, UWM, and you're a bank or whatever. We've all got the same stuff. Your knowledge becomes your power, and your knowledge and your willingness to have this conversation. The top 1% of real estate agents are as smart as you and they understand what's going on. But what we
Mhm.
forget is that 98% of them don't really have a clue, and they want to learn and they want to listen to what you have to say, and they want to listen to stuff about seller contributions. They don't really understand. And so you have a great opportunities to call these broker owners and these power centers and these power teams and say, hey, I want to come in and I want to talk about the NAR, and I want to talk about some upcoming changes, and I want to get in front of you, and I want to give you this sheet, and I want whatever it is, and let's address it. I'm doing it on every platform.
That's awesome. And so, talking about growing the network, because a lot of what was mentioned there is, hey, I'm going to go do an office presentation. I'm going to talk to the broker and get in front of the entire office. Like, I love that you default to leveraged opportunities where you're not just talking one to one, you're talking one to many. So,
Yep.
how much of your activity and time is spent on garnering new relationships with realtors, and how much of your time is spent on nurturing the relationships that you already have?
So the answer is not enough. It's
As
not
always,
enough.
me too, right?
Yeah, like it's not enough. I mean, I should be, as a loan officer, like we're kind of taught that, we're not loan officers, we're salespeople, right? Like
That's
same
right.
thing with the real estate agents. Like, you read some of these blogs and they're like, how do I get leads without cold calling? Or how do I, well, you're a salesperson, like you're supposed to cold call. Like that's what you do, right? Our product is mortgages and we're experts in it. But yeah, so not enough. I would say uh the honest answer is probably less than an hour in my given day because fortunately, for me, I woke up with two sales contracts this morning and I'm based all afternoon. I'm selling loans and I have, I have stuff to work on, right? But
Right.
if you're a loan officer that is closing less than 10 deals a month, um 7 hours out of your 8 should be prospecting and talking to agents and setting up things in creative ways to market. You need to be marketing your entire time until your production slows your marketing.
Yeah. Yep.
That's it. And a good salesperson will tell you, and when that starts happening, get a good assistant.
That's right.
Right? Because you need to go back to doing that and grow and build wealth. I mean, that's what it's all about. And I think my issue over 24 years is I was handicapped and I hit that ceiling where I couldn't market anymore. And I hit, 25 million in sales and they're just like kind of stuck because you're doing everything yourself. And then I finally found a partner that was a credit trained underwriter and she's been instrumental to my growth. So like a quality partner is or assistant or whatever you want to call it is key. Spend the money on a good one.
Yeah, 100%. And that at the Mortgage Marketing Animals inside the Freedom Club, that's what it's all about. It's about, you've hit that ceiling and you're trying to get to that next level. It's like it's less about the skill set because you've figured the skill set out to get to that level. So how
Yeah,
do you transfer that skill set to another person so that they can process the volume so that you can go back to filling the pipeline with loans?
correct.
And obviously it's a lot more than that. I'm not doing it justice, but you
Yeah.
get it. So, Jeff, you've got so much knowledge and industry experience. What would you say is the number one thing that you've been able to use or leverage with real estate agents to open up those relationships? So somebody doesn't know you from Adam. What's that one thing that you're going to make that call with? What's the offer that you find you get the best success with?
So it changes, but like it does. It changes but when I'm talking to somebody like a listing agent, and I've done my hey, I got my appraisal call and yada yada. Didn't we do such a good job for you, Mr. Agent? Can we do business in the future? That doesn't really work. I found it doesn't work for me. Now, most of my agents that I've got have been listing agents, and I always think of you got to leave them with one thing because ultimately you have to get them to try you with something, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what we do very well is self-employed borrowers, right? So because a lot of banks are like, I don't understand tax returns. Well, get somebody that does because your wholesalers do and your underwriters do. So find yourself somebody that knows how to read a tax return and learn and don't be afraid. So a lot of times I'll say, hey, just so you know, I know you have a lot of partners, but if you run into a self-employed borrower, you'd be a fool not to send them to me because
Mm,
that's what we do well, right? Well, or if I'm talking to someone in downtown Chicago, I'll say, well, you know what? I know you do a lot of condos. And I'll talk about, one of my wholesale partners programs where they do like condo simple. So I'll give them one thing. Hey, if you run into anybody over the next couple of weeks that's looking at a condo, that's their specialty, right? Well, and the fact is, I'm not lying because it really is.
hmm.
I really am good with self-employed, but I try to give them with one thing. And then at the end of the day, I go back to experience does matter. And so when you have that borrower that is 800 credit score, 20% down, 800,000 purchase price, they don't really need us, right? To quote a 30-year fix. They can get their rate anywhere. But
Hmm.
what sometimes I say is, hey, listen, done over 100 purchases for 24 years. Okay. There's not an issue that I haven't really dealt with. And although you don't need me to quote your 30-year fix today, if something goes wrong, you want me on your
Yeah.
team.
Hmm.
You don't want the internet. You want me to help solve your problem. You don't know what your problem is yet, but go read my reviews go look at what I've done for my past clients and we've got the same rate, you should pick me because I'm an expert and I will help solve this problem, whatever problem it's going to be. I've got the expertise. And so you got to leave them with something to remember you by, because then it'll be up 3 weeks later. They'll meet some self-employed borrower and they'll be like, oh yeah, Schneller's, yeah, he's great at that self-employed stuff. And
Yep.
so they'll be, you know what, you should call this guy Jeff. And they get that one opportunity. And that's really what it's about, is giving them one thing to remember you by. Then you start slowly building on everything else that you're good at.
Yeah, I absolutely love that. That is amazing. One final question, and thank you for being so generous with your time. You guys have 188 five-star ratings and reviews on your Google profile. Do you have a process for getting those five-star reviews
Yeah.
outside of just incredible service?
Yeah. So we send out so when we close out a file, we send a very nice email that says, hey, your file's ready for closing. We include the buyer's agent, we include everybody on and say, your file's ready for closing. Here's a copy of your closing statement. Here's everything that you need to do. Hope you're happy with our services. And we are going to email and text you information so you can leave us a nice review. And then we follow up on it. It's something that you just have to do. And like I said, in the beginning of this, I told you I was a dinosaur. And so I never really believed in that power. And I think I said that my business was past clients and social networking groups and real estate agents. But the online presence, and especially for a company like Corby Mortgage, because I've always like, who's Corby Mortgage? We're nobody, right? Nobody knows, unless you're in my circle, you don't know who I am. I've just been Jeff Schneller and everything like that. But the online presence in those Google reviews, I'm telling you, over the last year, since we've really been focusing on this, I'm getting phone calls and like out of the blue where I was like, oh my God, you found me on the internet? Like, how the hell does that happen? And it's awesome. And so people are finding me. I've got real estate agents from California that they've Googled my reviews and they're like, you got a lot of great reviews. I like the content. I like what everything it says. I've got a client that's moving out there. Will you work with them? And I'm like, you found me online. This thing's so I guess I'm just, I'm older and I just never really got my business, but from the internet, but, yeah, it works and it's becoming something which, which is kind of why I was interested when you guys reached out to talk to me. Like I'm doing some of it and I don't know if I'm doing a good job, but it certainly is a way it's where our industry is going. And we have to compete with some of these platforms. And when you're a professional and you know what you're doing, it's different than that, 20-year-old kid in the back of a room that's answering, 900 phone calls. Cause I'd love to compete against that guy every day.
Yep, absolutely. And just to be mercifully brief with this, but I'm going to nerd out for just a second because search is actually changing. So I know there's a lot of people that are like, oh, I was late on my Google reviews. Did I miss the boat? And the head of search at Google just came out and said anywhere between like 20% and 40% of all online search is going to go away because it's going into artificial intelligence engines like ChatGPT and Gemini. And there's this whole other search environment that everybody's sleeping on. And we've already figured out how to rank our clients in ChatGPT. So we've already funded a deal from somebody going to ChatGPT and saying, who's the best mortgage lender in Tampa, Florida? Our client shows up, they get a phone call, and they fund a deal with somebody because ChatGPT has the conversation with the person of like, hey, here's the options, here's the ratings and reviews, and we've actually figured out how to rank in that engine. We think we've figured out how to rank in that engine. And that's the future, because in 3 years from now with artificial intelligence, we're all just going to have an AI assistant. Like apps on phones are going to die because you're going to have an assistant in your phone and it's like, hey, I got to get to my meeting at 3:00. Well, it should know in your calendar where the meeting is, be able to get you an Uber and schedule your Uber at your house or your office 15 minutes before you got to be at your appointment. Like that should just already happen, right? That's where AI assistants are coming in. So getting your mortgage business ranked within GPTs is the future 100%. And you've taken some massive steps forward on what you need to do that. So nerd platform over, but for all of our listeners, that's part of what they know me for, and buckle up because there's some pretty cool information coming on that stuff in the future. So Jeff, again, thank you for being so generous with your time. Where do people go to find more information about you and Sweeney Mortgage and all that good stuff?
Yeah, so you can find us at corbymortgage.com. That's simple.
Sorry, Corby Mortgage.
Yeah. We're Ryan Sweeney's the vice president. He and I are, we do business in Illinois, Wisconsin, and Indiana. And we've been at it. We've been in business for 25 years. I became a partner in 2018. And corbymortgage.com. We'd love to work with you.
That is amazing. Jeff, thank you again. And to all of our listeners, thanks for listening. And we will see you on the next episode.
Thanks, Chris.